It's another interesting episode of Inside Out, and this week we have a topic that is somewhat of an issue. Nowadays, when there is a wedding, it is associated with a lot of expense. Now, there was this couple, let me say about to get married, and the question was, the guy goes, I cannot afford 3 weddings, choose one. Which one of the weddings do you want? Traditional, religious, court. I cannot do all 3. Which one is more important? And guess what? She decided she wanted church. Because the white gown, going to church, having all her friends around and the reception afterwards, she thought was most important. But she found out that nobody else agreed with her. Everybody thought traditional should be the most important. While some other people thought, you know what, court, because that's the only thing that would make you have any rights legally. In fact, it was a huge argument. We actually put it out on the social network. Then so we decided, okay, which one of these is most important? And is there any way we can help young people nowadays to make sure? Because even, in fact, it's no longer 3, it's like 5. There's introduction is party. There's another one in between.
Engagement
is party. There's wedding shower. It is now becoming increasingly expensive to marry. And every single aspect of a wedding is expensive. It can even stand alone as a wedding.
Yes.
That a lot of people are running away from the wedding by themselves and just moving into the man's house so that there's not much to say anymore. Because men are shying away from it. It's too expensive. Nobody seems to be thinking about after that day what happened. So we said, okay, in our typical way, let's bring it out here. Which one, are all these 3 very important? Are they a necessity? And if they are not, which one is most important? Or how can we marry all to become one? If it's possible. Maybe we bring the imam or the pastor, bring the 2 parents together, bring the court registrar. One ceremony and settle it, if that's possible. I don't know if that's possible. So that's what we'll be talking about today, the essence of each one of these and why they're important and how we can help young couples so they don't have to break a bank or go and borrow in order to marry. That is the topic we have today. 3 weddings, a necessity. You're welcome once again. And I have a panel that I think will do justice to this topic. I'm going to start my introduction from my left. Please help me welcome Imam Sheridan Ibrahim. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And then next to him is Blessing Obiun. Am I correct?
Obiks.
Please help me welcome again Mr. Ralph Opara. You're welcome. Barrister Shola Adegbomire. You're welcome, ma'am. He's a lawyer. Yes. Now, let me start with you, Blessing, because that's what we're discussing here. Let me just get an overview from you as a young person living in Nigeria today.
Okay.
What's your view?
Yeah, to me,
Yes.
I prefer the traditional marriage because that's where you get the consent of both parents.
If you had your boyfriend, fiance, husband-to-be come to you and say, choose one, you would choose?
I would choose the traditional.
You use
Because the traditional has been from generation to generation. We met it here from our forefathers, and it has been, and that has always been the tradition. What do you understand by tradition? It's a religious belief that we are all born here to, we are born to meet them practicing it. So you can't just tell me that other tribes.
So you don't want to wear a white gown and walk down the aisle?
I'm not interested. I'm not in all those one is activities, but the major one is the traditional, because that's where you get the blessing of the parents. That's the important aspect of it. Because without the blessing of the parents, you are going nowhere. It's as good as you are not even a wife, or you're nothing.
So from what you're
is a
for you, the traditional wedding is the best. You can do only the traditional wedding, and you are happy.
Fine. Yeah, I'm happy.
What about the court?
Cool. I don't care about that.
You don't care about that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start with that now. So, Barrister, let me talk to you. how important is the court wedding, the court assenting to your union? What does it entail and how important is it?
Okay, let me first start by saying a court wedding is a misnomer.
Okay.
There's nothing like a court wedding.
Okay.
Nobody gets married in court, so I don't know why they call it court wedding.
I was just going to ask that then, why is it called court wedding?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, people go to a registry,
Yes.
marriage registry,
Marriage
to get
registry.
married. And marriage at the marriage registry is marriage under the statutory law. That's the Marriage Act of Nigeria.
Yes.
And so really the three weddings that are recognized in Nigeria, the three forms of marriages recognized in Nigeria under the Nigerian law is the statutory marriage, which is what you do at the registry, or you can move the registry to anywhere you like. Yeah. You know, you can move the registry to under the stars in Olumo Rock if you wish.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Also, you can actually move this aspect to join any one of the others?
Yes, and I'll explain how.
Okay.
So first you have the marriage registry. So that's the statutory marriage. Then you have customary marriage, which is what I guess you call trad.
Yes.
And then you have Islamic marriage. Those are the three marriages recognized under the law, under the Nigerian legal system. Church marriage is not marriage on its own recognized under the law.
Are you for real?
Yes, I am.
No, say that again. Church marriage, the place where we wear the white gown.
Marriage on its own,
on its own,
without more, is not marriage that is recognized under the law.
Yes.
I've never heard. Did anybody know this?
Yes. It's borrowed. It's borrowed. We borrowed that one from the white man.
Well,
Yes.
I don't know about
Yes.
borrowed.
We borrowed that from the white man. It's really, we don't practice
I don't
it
know.
in.
Let me, okay.
I need to understand what do you need to, maybe you need
Now
to
to
explain.
make, exactly. So
Because
first of
that
all,
to me, to a lot of women, is like the most important thing.
yes, I mean it is, but what you have is that before you can marry in church, you have to go to the marriage registry to get a license. And the church itself must be licensed under the law. Unlike other types of marriages, if you are marrying under customary law, which is recognized without more, when I say without more, you don't have to do anything else. What many people call engagement is actually a wedding, is actually a marriage. And so I've seen a lot of young people, maybe old people
really?
too, who have what is called engagement, wine carrying, and they think, oh, we are only engaged. And so if we break up, we can always marry somebody else. They are not engaged, they are married.
Wow.
The law recognizes it.
I didn't know this.
The law recognizes it, and if that same person, you know, they've had engagement, wine carrying, and other forms of traditional marriages, which is recognized under the law, if the two of them broke up, and then, you know, they grew up 5 years later, they then married different other people, in church, at the registry, wherever, that second marriage is null and void.
Really?
Yes.
Because of the wine carrying or the engagement that he had done before?
Yes, because of the wine carrying. Because the wine carrying is a traditional marriage which the Nigerian law recognizes as a marriage.
Sorry, before we continue, so what you've just said means that if I broke off an engagement without doing it the traditional
is a traditional marriage.
Yes.
You know, because what we call engagement is usually a traditional marriage. It has the consent of the parties, it has the parental consent, it has the bride price, it has intention. Sure. So it is a marriage, and it is a traditional marriage. Wine carrying, engagement, most of those things are traditional marriages. If you broke off a traditional marriage, you need to get a divorce. If you do not do that...
I am shocked.
Yes, I know. Yeah. If you do not do that, and then you go to church and get married, after having gotten a license from the registry, the marriage in church is null and void. You are not married.
Wow. Interesting.
I know a lot of people find that very interesting.
Very, very interesting. I think, you know, you don't, because I don't think the significance of, I think with this generation, the significance of the traditional marriage is being de-emphasized in favor of the gown and all of that. So, I mean, maybe this is an education because a lot of us take it for granted. Let me talk to you, Mr. Okpara. First of all, tell us the origin of traditional marriage and why it's important.
Okay. Traditional marriage is the first marriage on earth. If you remember Adam and Eve. It was in the Garden of Eden. There was no church. There was no registry. So it was essentially traditional.
Okay.
Now, you see, the traditional marriage is a sine qua non. You can't do without it. That is where the two families get together.
Yeah.
That is where the agreement is really brought out. Because in Nigerian traditional marriage, generally, it is said that it is not the man and the spouse that are engaged. It is the entire family marrying the other family. And so it is that traditional marriage that brings it out. This family comes, this other family comes, and it is assumed, because this dating, premarital, whatever, is not encouraged in traditional thing. So in those days, the man may not even know the spouse. If the man is in Ghana and the spouse is in Nigeria, the photograph of the
so all those things that we see now where they put photograph on the chair, it started from...
So yes.
Yeah.
The photograph will be sent to the man in Ghana, who will say, okay, and at times it can be passport. He wouldn't see the left portion of it, whether it is amputated or tail-leg. So the man will approve of it by the photograph and then tell the woman not to misplace that dress she was wearing on that day. Because when the entire thing is concluded, because for the traditional marriage, the man may not even be there. It could be by proxy, so long as the father or...
Can you really marry like that without both parties being there?
The man may not be there. Really.
Because I've seen it before, and I
Yeah,
wonder
because
why
it
are
is-
they wasting their time?
Yeah, because it is assumed that that family is marrying from the other family.
So it's not about the two people.
It's not really about, it goes beyond the two people. Goes beyond it. So traditional marriage is wonderful. I approve of
It is
it.
very wonderful. How can two people have never seen it?
I approve of it. And because it is a standalone, that is, if you stop at that point, you are married. The church one, I continue to say church because I'm not conversant with the Muslim one. So when I say church, I mean religious. But let me restrict myself to church so that I don't step outside what I know. The church one is not a standalone. It must be backed up by registry. In fact, that register that is signed at the church does not belong to the church. It is property of the registry. So that when it is signed in how many copies? 2, 3 or so. One returns back to the registry, while the other one, a copy remains in the church, and then one copy is given to usually the lady. It's the lady that
It's the lady that knows how to
I mean, I'm learning a lot right now because there are things I didn't even know. I just assumed, there are things that you just take for granted that that these things are relevant. Let me talk to you, Imam. Tell me what happens. I mean, yours is one of the recognized marriages or ceremonies. How does it work under Islamic laws?
Basically, as it has been talking about marriage in Islam,
yes.
It goes beyond the parties involved themselves. Islam sees it as you are setting up an institution by bringing the husband and the wife together. So you are setting up an institution, and that authority that permits that institution is God Himself. So based on that, what Islam sees or believes is the rule of God placed here. And what are the rules of God that place here? You are bringing in a marriage between a man and a husband which must be approved by the parents. What has been mentioned or described as traditional here, Islam has a provision for it. And the area Islam comes in providing for the traditional angle, as we have it here, is bringing in the consent of the parents. The consent of the parents are so vital here. That is why in Islam, even as we have it today among the youth,
but even in the church, the consent, I don't think there's anywhere where they don't ask for consent of the parents.
Exactly.
Yes.
It is because it's religious. It is because it's divine. So that's why the issue of consent of the parents is very germane as part of the prerequisite before a marriage is concluded. The marriage process is concluded. So in the aspect where it is being described as traditional, I think it's even God itself. It's a procedure that comes from God himself, that this is the way you must go about it. So it is not, we cannot seclude or remove God from this angle now. I mean, going back from the time of creation, when Adam and Eve, in Islam is called Hawa, when they were created, it was God that permitted, approved, and did the solemnization between Adam and Eve. So it was spiritual, it was divine, and it was religious in itself. So describing it as traditional, it is a nomenclature that we develop from ourselves because we try to, dissociate that divinity in a sense. So moving from that, when you talk about marriage in Islam, it has its prerequisites, the steps that must be observed. The first one is the offer and acceptance between the people involved here, the man and the woman. When there is offer, that's why in Islam you can't force someone into marriage. It is not part of the tenet of Islam. Some even today think maybe one of the ways of marriage in Islam is to force a woman to marriage. It is not part of Islam. Even if it is done, Islam makes it null and void. Except when people just go ahead on their own. These are the rules Islam observes. Then secondly, after the offer and acceptance between the parties.
Can I just hold you?
All right.
In a situation where, because I'm listening to him, and he said the marriage is not necessarily about the people. It's actually about the family.
The family, yes.
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 So, who in Islam, what if two families want their children together and the children don't want to be together?
In Islam, when two families want their children together, yes. That's why I'm talking about offer and acceptance. That offer and acceptance comes from the two people that are going to the marriage. But the position of the family is recognized here in the sense that in the extension of the marriage, these are the party, these are the members that will play a great role in assisting the marriage to success. That's why Islam gives them recognition. And that's why when you see on Nikah Day, as it is called in Islam, you always see that the parents are involved. The husband, father is there, the wife's father is there. And they are even, when you really observe it, you discover that it is the two parents that are joined together to epitomize, to underpin what father says there. So to underpin that the parents are involved, not that, okay, it's me and my...
Do you under Islamic law
yes.
need for there to have been a traditional marriage before a nikah, or can I do my nikah and traditional together?
Okay. What Islam recognizes really is the nikah. You understand? When you are now bringing in the traditional procedures, it is recognized in the sense that the supreme authority or role that will be played here is the religion that will play the supreme role. It is Islam that will play the supreme role in the sense that the officiating imam will now do the solemnization. Where the traditionality comes in this sense is, there are things that are shared between the family that are given as gifts to the family of the lady. Islam recognizes that as a way of sharing and extending love to one another. It is supported Islamically. Then, other than that, the consent of the parents is a traditional thing which religion as well, places its authority.
If I decide to get married traditionally and I don't do the nikah, would I still be married under Islamic law?
If you do that, obviously, as a Muslim, Muslims are supposed to use the nikah procedures. Then if you now go through the traditional, it means Islamically you are not recognized to have married. Because, you know, religion plays a great role in one's life. You are naturally attached to religion. You are naturally attached to who you are as a Muslim or who you are as a Christian. So that's why Islam recognizes that. When you go the other way, as you have left the fold, what Islam recognizes as a way of life and as a social system.
If I do a nikah?
Yes.
Or, because I'll be talking to the pastor very soon.
Okay.
What, as a woman, let me use myself as a woman, what is my assurance that I'm married?
I was talking about the procedures.
Yes.
The conditions of marriage. The prerequisite. The first one I've talked about, offer and acceptance.
Yes.
The second one is the guardian, the parents here. They must be involved.
Yes.
The third one is the dower. That's the nuptial gift that must be given to the lady, which the lady herself determines. Whatever she wants to collect from the husband, that makes her permissible for the husband as a wife. And the fourth one is there must be witnesses, the minimum which are 2 Islamically, and for the generality of people that are there, then by increasing the number of the witnesses is also supported. Then the fifth one is the solemnization itself that must be done by the officiating imam at the venue of the nikah session. So you are talking about what would the lady now have? The lady obviously will have marriage certificate are signed Islamically. They are signed where
so there's a marriage certificate that is signed Islamically.
Islamic, yes, exactly. Because in Islam views marriage as, you are going into contract. So that's why you are going to contract. There are various verses in the Quran where it is said that contracts must be written. So when you write that, you are affirming that position that I'm legally married to this person. So Islam as a system is a system on its own which operates, and as our legal luminary said, is recognized even in Nigerian constitution.
Do you recognize legally the document that they sign on the day of the nikah?
If they had evidence that all this took place, it would be
like
recognized.
Photographs.
Yes.
So even photographs would suffice as
and
evidence of marriage.
Yes, under that, even the traditional marriage, we didn't used to have certificates. But
I was going to say for traditional marriages today, what do you have? Because
all you need to have when you want to prove that you got married is either your photographs, witnesses. That was what we had in those days. So, with or without a certificate under those systems, the marriage will be recognized under the law.
Yes, with your perspective on this.
I think we need to separate some of these issues so that we need to separate the ceremony, separate the people, separate the institution. Now, our barrister has spoken about the government institution that validates marriage. Okay. Now, the imam has also said, the religion is the one that backs it up. There's a divinity aspect. Then our traditional person has also said, once you have done the traditional thing, and a lady here said, good, once I'm done with traditional, there is an institution, just like a university, a school, so to say. And in school, there are various departments. Yeah. And all these departments play an integral part. Yeah. You can't separate one from the other. You can go to Unilag and say, I'm a graduate of mass communication. Okay. But there is broadcast, there is print, and all of that. Now, if you don't put the two together, how do you come out and say, I'm a graduate of mass communication? That's an example. Now, in the institute of marriage, 2 people want to come together to further procreation, to live together. Now, the institution that these 2 people belong to must be recognized. First, from divinity. They came from somewhere, from God. God instituted marriage. And if anybody says, church is not important, well, it's like a man who wants to travel on a journey, and he feels, My jack is not important. Let me go on the journey. If you have a flat tire on the way, God helps you. Now, it is important that we understand the place of the church. We understand the place of the tradition. We understand the place of the court or the registry.
Okay.
First, if you take it from the place of the church, the two people coming together, a number of times meet in the church. Let's say they met in the church, and then they went ahead to say, okay, this is my family, this is your family. At a point in time, there will always be that fact to say, okay, if you are going to come together, what are the institutions that we must put in place?
Must it be a ceremony? I mean, can I not go on a normal church service day after I've done my traditional, for instance, or my court, if I so choose, and just come and join, and then after service go for a blessing?
That's what I'm saying. That's why if you take it one step after the other, you will get to where you are going. Where we're coming from was the fact that it was becoming too expensive. That was where we don't have to deviate from that. Okay. And that is why you have sought the opinions of all of the people that have spoken. And if
it is also because this generation is de-emphasizing a lot of the other ones in favor of church. And I was quite surprised to hear from the barrister that that's the only one that the law doesn't recognize. Because even in Islam now, you find the brides wearing wedding gowns, which is the new generation, which is also that idea of wanting that ceremony. You know? Yes, so that's why we're talking. Yes.
There is none that is not, you can't de-emphasize one. That's my own point of view. You can't say, don't go to church, go and do traditional alone and leave church. Church is not, the traditional setting is not an institution. Nobody is going to give a certificate to them when they get married, when they do the traditional wedding. Is there any institution, is there any family that will come and write and say, the church has been invested with that assignment to give certificates, to validate, to say...
See, that's the issue now.
Because
I'm listening to the pastor now, because this is what...
church...
Pastor, I want to ask, the certificate itself, the marriage?
The certificate is the validation of the marriage.
You as a pastor, excuse me, you as a pastor, if someone wants to get married, what will you do? Will you ask the person if he has seen the parents of the guy or the fiancé or will you ask such questions?
If I ask, please come again.
Will you ask, or you just tell them to go ahead?
No. That's what you see. The church, you see, the way you are describing the church here, you describe the church as just one shop. The church has a primary role from, say, when they met, how they have to meet, counseling, putting them together, guiding them, preparing them for the assignment of marriage.
But during our mother days, there was nothing like that, and their marriage stayed for long. But now that there is church, the wedding and all that, spend heaven and earth, but before you know it, the marriage is break up and the certificate is there. Certificate cannot solve any problem.
No, you can't. What is your record?
I still stand on my point that without the consent of the parents, it's as good as you have not married. Because if, for example, if a man died and the man doesn't pay the birth price of the wife, the family doesn't recognize the woman in court. The family will say, we don't know you, your birth price is not paid, and that is it. But the certificate will not bail it.
So even if they've done a church wedding?
Yes, she's not married, she's not a wife.
Even if she has done a church wedding and she has kids?
She's not a wife.
And they didn't do traditional?
She's not a wife.
Sorry, there is no church except a fake church. There is no, let me line. Okay. There is no church that will not promote that idea of you, the man or the woman, getting to know each family. It is the church that even puts you all through of this. It is the church that educates you. It is the church that says, look, this is mandatory. You need your parental blessings. Now, in this our age, let's forget social vices that have crept into marriages.
Okay.
People rent parents. They rent mothers, they rent fathers, and it is even the church that has made it mandatory.
They rent parents?
Yes, they rent parents.
So go and do what?
To come and be the father of the bride,
okay.
To come and be the mother of the bride.
They rent parents?
Yes, it's a social thing.
There is problem.
Serious problem. So now, if not for the church that has come to say, look, we need to know, we need to see.
I'm sorry, I have to ask again. That took me by shock. Why do they rent parents? Their parents are not good enough.
It's the fast food approach to things that we have come to meet in this age. You just want to.
I've just never heard that before.
People, you go to even the traditional thing that they talk about.
It's the value change that we have in the society. It is the ravaging deception that we encourage, and there is social acceptance or acceptability for that in the society. As she asked the pastor concerning the fact that does the marriage certificate is the end thing needed to certify that this person is married. But I think beyond that, the religious institutions are involved. The traditional aspect you are pointing to, I think the religious institutions are catering for that, even from the scratch till the end of the process. The counseling.
But if you are catering for that, as you say,
Exactly.
either as an imam or as a pastor,
Yes.
why must it be a ceremony
Well,
different from the traditional? If you are saying that you still need the consent to know that they have consent of the families and all of that, why do we still need a separate ceremony for that? Why can't a pastor or an imam on a traditional wedding day bless the union?
Thank you.
Let me come in a little bit.
I'm interested in this conversation.
Just a minute.
Because it's obvious why my weddings are expensive now as I'm listening to you people.
Yeah, just a minute.
Okay.
You see, the expense about it and the flamboyance depends on the people
on the
married.
people, yes. It is not a co-marriage.
The issue is this. For any person to have a legally recognized marriage, there must be, if it is the Christian marriage, registry must be involved.
Okay.
And they start from the church, tell the pastor, go through, I wouldn't want to use the word rituals, go through marriage counseling
Okay.
and all that. And when that is completed, the pastor himself will ask them to go to the registry. Then on the wedding day, like I told you, that booklet that you sign is owned by the registry, not by the church. It's owned by the registry. And it's in triplicate.
Okay.
The original goes to the spouse.
Okay.
The second copy is returned to
Barrister,
the registry.
let me talk to
Yeah.
Barrister on this issue. I mean, you're representing what we're talking about. And you know, one of the reasons why I'm asking this, I did a topic a few weeks ago, I think, sometime back, on the will. Was it, what were we talking about? Was it the will? Next of kin.
Okay.
Next of kin. And there was a lady who was on the panel who her entire husband's family had taken stuff from. And when we got to the bottom of it, the issue was that she only had a traditional wedding. And she never got a certificate. So for her to even go to court, because her husband died interstate, was now a problem. What it seemed like to us, even though you say you recognize the traditional institution, was that reduced her power, because even though she was the legal wife in the house, her husband also had children with other women.
Let me go back again and say the Nigerian legal system recognizes 3 types of marriages. And I believe this is because the system also recognizes that there are these 3 different types of people. We have a large population of Muslims. We have a large population of people who are neither Muslims nor Christians, they're traditionalists. And we have a large population of Christians as well. Now, I think it is still an ongoing debate as to why the church marriage has to be tied into the registry. Because without more, and when I say without more, without doing anything else, without going to the registry, a traditional marriage stands as valid. Without going to the registry, an Islamic marriage stands as valid. Am I correct? Do you need to go to the registry? No. You don't need to go to the registry. Now, we also have a very large Christian population in Nigeria. And the question is that for those who their own belief system is Christian, why can they not just marry under their own belief system? The Christian belief system is different from the traditional belief system, it's different from the Muslim belief system.
Yeah.
Why can't they marry under their own belief system without more? The same way you can get married in the mosque, you can get married traditionally, why can't people also just go to church and get married without more? Well, suffice to say, that is not the position today. There may be changes in policy in another couple of years. People might advocate for such a thing. But today, if you are marrying in church, it is tied to the registry. Now, more importantly, coming back to why traditional, why church, and one needs a certificate, one does not need a certificate, it's not quite all about that. It's about the three systems of law. There are three different systems of law. Yes, three. The Islamic system of law, the traditional system of law, and the statutory system of law, what some people call English marriage. And I think
so it is the system of law that is guiding
exactly. Now, the Islamic system of law allows polygamy to a certain extent, right or wrong?
Yeah.
The traditional system of law also allows polygamy to a certain extent. A man can marry 27 wives. I'm sure you remember the person who married 27 wives in one day. The traditional system recognizes polygamy. Unfortunately, it doesn't recognize it the other way around. A woman cannot marry 27 husbands.
Under the traditional system?
Under the traditional
really?
system.
Okay.
Well, I don't think any... there's so many traditions, more than 200 cultures in Nigeria. But at least the ones I know, the traditional system of law allows polygamy. The Islamic system of law allows polygamy. The statutory system of law, not the Christian system of law does not recognize polygamy, but we're not looking at the Christian system of law. We're looking at the third one is the statutory system of law. The statutory system does not allow polygamy. So what we have when we try to marry all is a conflict of laws, which is why, like I said at the beginning, if you got
married... So the only law that seems to go with the English one is the
Christian one. That's the only one that seems to go with it. Now, I started by saying, if you got married under customary law, for example, and then you decided you weren't going through with it again, and you married somebody else under statutory law, the marriage under the statute is null and void because there are two conflicting systems of law. The first system of law which you followed is a system that allows polygamy. So if you married the first wife under traditional, and you married the second, and you married the third, and you married the fourth, you're free. They are all recognized under the law. When you go to the registry, they'll tell you that after this one, you cannot marry another unless you get a divorce. So you have two conflicting systems. So if you marry the first one under customary, you cannot then change to statutory because statutory does not allow polygamy. If you marry the first one under statutory, you can't then change to customary, except where you are doing it with the same person. And the marriage law, the Marriage Act, Section 33, says you cannot marry another person when you have been married to a different person under customary law. It's even the law. It's not just something we're saying.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. We're still talking three weddings, a necessity. Yes, Pastor, before we went on the break, you wanted to say
yes, the barrister has just shed light on what the statutory and the Islamic law and why they are recognized and their importance. I'm only just going to say, you see, the three, traditional church and the registry is important. One, for the church is divinity, just like the Islamic scholar have said. That's the owner of marriage, the person who instituted the institution is God. Then true, traditional. The essence of tradition is that the two families are coming together. The children, they are a product of a legacy, of an inherited culture, way of life. And that is the only time they can exhibit. And just like she has said, it depends on how you now want to spend or how elaborate you want to make it. Then for the registry, we live in an age where, just like she has said, we need to be protected. We have careers, our children will come up, you want to travel abroad, you want to go pursue careers, and the only thing to show is a certificate, is a document. So if you say one is important, or I can just go and do traditional marriage, and it doesn't matter whether the church blessing or or the registry wedding is, the 3 is, for me, I think the 3 is crucial.
Yes, Imam, let me hear from you.
Yeah, I don't want us to lose a sight about an issue raised by the barrister. Maybe I should place a question to her.
Okay, please
we're
go
talking
ahead.
about, yes, we are talking about the statutory, the law here now. Trying to maybe make case for the fact that we don't have the Christian wedding catered for in the Nigerian constitution. I want to ask a question. Who wrote the constitution? I know we were colonized by the British, and their lifestyle is Christian in itself. So that would have been a way they have made a way or cater for that in that respect for going for statutory. I want to, make an answer to that. Is that not a way to cater for the Christian form of wedding? Using, through the customary, the statutory you mentioned in the, provided in the constitution. Because we have drawn a line of affinity here. That there is, no polygamy recognized. You can't take another wife. Going by
that it just goes in line with what
so
the Christian doctrine
Christian
is.
way, idea. So we know the background of how the law was written in Nigeria and the colonization that we experienced in Nigeria. Is there no link?
No, I guess what you are saying is that there's no need for a Christian marriage without more, since the Christian marriage and the statutory marriage are
the
similar.
same,
Yes,
Exactly.
that's what you're saying.
Okay, you're still talking?
Exactly.
Okay.
So beyond that, we are talking about from where we moved, where we started the discussion. We are talking about expenses, flamboyancy. I think it depends on individual, but secondly, the dictates of the religion matters here as well. I know for sure as a Muslim, what Islam talks about. Islam talks about moderation. Islam talks about not going to the extreme, not too much to the left, not too much to the right, being at the center, creating an equilibrium. So in the same vein...
But you would agree with me that under today's present generation, Muslims, you see, in fact, they are rivaling Christian weddings right now.
Exactly. It depends
the jewelry, the...
everything.
What I'm saying in this aspect now is it depends on the individual, based on your capacity and ability. That's what Islam says. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah has not placed any burden beyond your ability on you. So it could be those weddings that we see, it could be based on the ability of those involved. But secondly, we must not lose the sight as well of the flamboyancy being affected by the society itself. You know, your mother will always tell you, I don't want something done secretly or low key.
I was going to say
the father will say it. Your friends here and there will always, and at the end of the day, you say they have blown your budget.
It's been an interesting episode. I've actually learned, even after 13 years of marriage, I'm beginning to learn some new things. Thank you very much.
I have a question for the Imam.
Okay.
As one of the prerequisites for marriage, he said there must be offer and acceptance between the two parties. I think that was
between the man and the woman.
Between the man and the
woman.
Yes.
Okay. Me, I'm from the north. I'm from Kaduna State.
Okay.
I was born in Sokoto State. I grew up and I saw a lot of things that are happening. Now, what will you say about marriages that are entered into between parents? Parents, whose children are just 2 years old. Take example with the governor of Zamfara State, who said to marry a 13-year-old.
Okay.
I believe in Nigerian society, she's a minor.
Okay.
That's 13.
That is, she cannot give consent. But the marriage still happened.
Went into that marriage. Now, where is he free from? I mean, is it because the Islamic something allows that? That is why the Nigerian DC will not, it will not work out under Nigerian system. Or how?
Yes, go on.
Basically, I think I will start from the second question. The Zamfara governor issue. Former Zamfara governor, yes. I think it is based on the background of where he married the girl from. So we should direct that. What operates in the land where he married that girl? I think the girl was not in Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Then secondly, from what we have in the world today, maybe you can check the survey take it world over, ladies are married or allowed to marry in different lands at different ages. Some takes 14, some takes 15, 16 in that order. So, but the case of Zamfara governor, went, wild in the media for God knows the reason. But I will direct the reason to the background of the country the lady is coming from. Okay. For instance, in UK today.
In Nigeria, what is the age?
You said what?
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
Under Islamic law, what's the age?
Well, under Islamic law, she is not, described as a minor.
She's not.
She is not described as a minor.
13.
It is, wait, let me land.
Okay.
She is not described as a minor if she has attained age of puberty. That's the condition.
So age of puberty is what Islam recognizes.
It's the age of puberty that determines. If she has attained the age of puberty, she's not described as a minor. Okay. So that's why I'm directing it back to the land the lady came from. Okay. It could have been. So I will leave that at that level.
I have a few things to say. They are my personal opinions. First of all, there's this notion that God is not present in traditional marriage. It is very wrong. He is so there, like very present. Because before they start anything, they say the prayer. And even the Bible says that wherever 2 or 3 people are gathered, He's there in our midst. So traditional marriage, in my own opinion, is very important. And I think I support what the pastor said about the media promoting flamboyant weddings. That is very true. Traditional marriage is necessary. Other forms of marriage are important. Traditional marriage is primary.
To summarize what she has said, so I think this issue of marriage is a give Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give Jesus what belongs to Jesus. Yeah. In other words, obey everything legal, what legal practitioners have to say about marriage, then as well, what religious people too have to say about marriage. Because leaving one out of it is, very funny. I think they go hand in hand. So we shouldn't prove and say one is superior than the other.
So I'm going to ask for last line, something you want the viewers to go away with, especially the young generation coming up now.
The traditional is good, but remember that if you get married with traditional alone, don't be surprised when they bring Mrs. Number 2. The only thing that keeps a man from bringing formally recognized under the law Mrs. Number 2 is a marriage under the statute or a church marriage. So you have to know what is important. If you get married under the statute, you can't even if you're a Muslim, you cannot then get married under Islamic law. So you have to determine what is most important to you. It's good to do the traditional, but the statutory is also very, very important. There are some people who don't mind having a Mrs. Number 2. And if you don't mind, then you can do the other forms without the statutory. But remember that the statutory will cost you just about 5,000 naira.
The statutory is about
just about 5,000 naira.
That is.
So you can do your traditional and then go quietly to the registry, find 2 friends that go with you, and you've done both traditional and you've also made sure that you are protected against Mrs. Number 2.
Thank you. Yes, Blessing, let me talk to you.
What I want to say regarding traditional, because your parents, they are the one that gave birth to you. And you need their blessing, you need their consent, you need their prayer. Without that, the pastor is not the person that gave birth to you. So you have to give your parents that regard. So I can still stand my ground today and forever that traditional is still the best. Even if you have little money, you can still go and meet the parents up there and say, this is what I have. Daddy, accept it, and they will accept it. We don't have to do a flamboyant wedding and all those ceremony. The marriage itself is the traditional.
Yeah,
Okay, it is cost that is driving the young men from marrying.
Yes.
And it is something that has to be addressed. Traditionally, you don't have to break the bank to marry. Like I've always said, it is 2 families coming together. You can limit it to the persons that are important in the family so that you can do it in a room. The amount of dowry, even no matter how flamboyant you do it, does not have to be announced. So between the 2 parties,
yeah.
they can say it is 1 naira. they can say it is 100,000. They can say it is 5,000. I remember one of the programs I did here. I said even it can be paid instrumentally.
I was just going to remind you that you said that you can be paying small.
Yes. No, instrumentally, small.
As long
so
as
the issue is that even now, when people gather in their thousands, when it gets to the aspect of dowry, they will ask the two the important persons
people to go inside.
To go inside and discuss it. Because if it is going to be 10 million and you announce 10 million, robbers may come. So, but what is important is the society itself knows that high bride price is keeping their daughters in the house. So when they now go in, they look at themselves and tell themselves the truth. So it can be from 1,000 to 100,000 or whatever, depending on the discussion.
So it's subject to, because this is a major issue, which means that nothing is cast in stone.
Nothing.
Not even the list is cast in stone. People have
like
to
I told
realize
you,
that.
in the list, what matters more is the one that goes to the wider family, and it's usually not expensive. Pick them out, ask them to pick it out, so that you make sure that, because you too have been collecting, sure you understand, because of other people that married, give them theirs. You as the parent can forgo the rest, and that wouldn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, Pastor.
If you are afraid of something that you want to get, try and sow the seed. If you see your friends who are getting married, try and go and assist them by one way or the other, so that when it comes to you, you get people who will also assist you.
Yeah, Imam, last word.
To the youth, who are the people we are addressing in this order, I want to encourage them to understand that marriage is good, marriage suits, and marriage is interesting. It is worth the stress to commit yourself into marriage, because it's a part that God has designed for humanity, for sustainability of the human race till the appointed time. Secondly, I want to call attention to the fact that it is important to work by your own budget. It is important to work by your own ability. God, in his dominion, has not planted or imposed on you what is beyond your capability. So don't be forced into what you are not able to do. At the end of the day, be regretful about it at the end of the day.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you. Thank you for the education. I mean, this, as usual, was fun, and I learned a lot of things. Thank you to my panelists, Pastor. Thank you very much. To my audience, a very big thank you to you. For the viewers, if you have comments or suggestions, send an email to us at insideoutwithagatha@yahoo.com, or our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/insideoutwithagatha, or follow us on Twitter at InsideOutMedia. I'd like to say a very, very big thank you to Voltic Water, to Oba for my hair, Olufunke Ilori for my makeup, to Child Design for my very beautiful outfit, and to Kelu Image Consultants for styling me. Until next week when we come your way again, talking about something else equally as interesting, please remember to cut your coat according to your material, not necessarily your size. Abi?
Yes.
According to the material you have, and know that traditional wedding, everything is negotiable.
Yes.
Nothing is cast in stone. Until next week when we come your way again, bye-bye and see you next week.